open? I have no idea what I'm doing, literally.
No, I think with
No.
StreamYard, if you open another, if you open something else, it kind of like just messes up
Okay.
altogether. Yeah.
Go on.
So we're live, and it's. Let me just make sure that I tag you. Yeah, because it doesn't automatically do it, and I have to change to public, um, and then tag your lovely self.
Thank you.
Okay, Hazel. Hmm. I've got to ask you, where did Hazel cake come from?
Oh no, this is like a secret that I'm putting out on live now. So I get asked a lot about this question. It's a nickname, and it started when I was 15. I have a lovely bunch of friends I go camping with every year. My dad sent me, we go to a festival together. And when I was 15 years old, you know, growing girl wouldn't always eat the most healthiest things. But to cut the story short, I basically bought a lot of chocolate cream eclairs, you know, the one with the choux pastry with the cream in the middle. You know, they're like air, so I will say. Um, and I ate 28 of those in a day. There was some still left to share with everyone else. This story always makes people go and laugh. And I did have my breakfast, lunch, and dinner as well. Now, even thinking about it, there's no way that I could eat that many. And so everyone just started calling me cream cake, and then it got shortened to hazel cake, and it's just kind of stuck really. And so when social media came, I thought, well, you know, it's my nickname, Hazel Cake. I just put on there, and it's grown. But it's always a big topic. People go, "Where's your name come from? Why is your name not Hazel Cake?"
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sweet. So that's
Oh,
the
it's a lovely
secret
name.
story.
It's a good nickname. Let's say like. So we're live now. Hi guys, thank you so much for joining us. Today I've got Hazel Cake, not Cake, really, that's her nickname, but I've got Hazel, an amazing woman that I've had several conversations with, who will share her story today, which is titled Womb Awakening. And I know it's such an amazing topic, unusual topic. And that's why I so wanted to talk about it, because it touches on so many issues that women face, and like the solutions that are available for us, but we don't really tap into it. As she will share her story, we'll see how different healing solutions work for different people. So my name is Rhoda. I'm the founder of Her Story Matters, and we are running the One Voice campaign. And this is part of the One Voice campaign, which is women sharing their stories, sharing their journeys, various journeys, various. Oh God, what's wrong with my tongue today? Various journeys and various stories, very diverse, because women are so diverse and all of us make one voice. Anyway, so I'm going to allow Hazel to share a bit about herself and what she currently does. And as she does that, I'm going to be checking on Facebook to see who's engaging and if there's any questions. So I'm not being rude. I'm still listening to and I'm engaging with all of you. And before she shares, can you please share this broadcast so that more people can have access to this and know about this information? And also let us know where you're watching from. And for the replay viewers, hello. Share where you are watching from and also share this video. So Hazel, tell us about what you do.
Okay, thank you, Rhoda. Thank you for having me as well. It's really, really nice. And I've loved all of our conversations. So, yes, I'm Hazel, sometimes known as Hazel Cake, but my real name is Hazel Llewellin. I am a complementary therapist, proud member of Complementary Medical Association, who are super duper. And I have been, for the last 8 years, on what I can only say is like a magical journey with energy medicine different types of healing modalities. It's led me into, you know, body work, massage, reflexology, Thai-foot, all of those beautiful things that really tie very well in together with certain types of energy medicine. So the main one that I work with is Reiki. So I'm a Reiki master teacher. I love teaching Reiki, and it's just such a great life tool. Also, the animals kind of come to me quite a lot, so I ended up now I teach animal Reiki as well. I'm having everything with my tongue as well, can't speak. So it happens to us all. Yeah, so the animal Reiki, I teach a course in that as well. Because it's really, really important. The animals really need us, and the two can work together. So it's really quite beautiful. The other thing that I do, which has been a more recent thing, which is why what we're talking about today, is womb healing. And I've been for the last couple of years on a real womb awakening journey, which started with the fabulous Rebecca Wilson. So what we will talk today and what we will touch on, if you're wanting to dive deeper than just maybe coming to me as a practitioner for womb healing, then Rebecca Wilson is definitely your lady. She is the founder of Real Womb Awakening Connections. So I have so much love for her because she totally changed my life, and I'm glad to be sharing it with you all today as well. So thank you. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing about you. I think one of the things that I want us to touch on, for us to be able to kind of like understand your journey and where you are right now, is if you can tell us a bit about your early childhood. And you know, we won't go so deep into it because she's going to be featured on Her Story magazine, so you have to wait and read that. But she's just going to kind of like just share a little bit about her story, so you can kind of like follow through, so that when we start talking about the womb awakening, you'll have more of a background as to why we're even talking about this and why it's important.
Okay, so I'm gonna try. I don't want to give it all away because there's a lot in the magazine, but so yeah, look out for that. So that's going to be fun. So my childhood was a bit of a bumpy one, to be honest. Sort of kind of pre 7 years old, really loving family, brought up by my parents, who always, you know, taught me to be very thankful and mind my P's and Q's, as they say. So I was always very grateful for what I had. My parents then divorced, and like with different stories that people have with divorce, how that affects the family, there was a breakdown in the family. And my mum, unfortunately, became quite unwell, and this led to various different things. So I'm going to jump forward to when I was 15. Due to the nature of the things that my mum were going through, I was fostered for a little while, but I set out on my own journey by myself, living on my own since I was 15. So all of those things, trying to deal with like running a house and bills, and I was still doing school, but I only went to school 3 times a week because I had very little money. So I had to have like a little side job, and this was working around so that I was able to have enough money just to feed myself and be able to finish school. So it was a real difficult time, and I had a lot of distractions, you know, being around the wrong sort of people, different things that happened. I did also go through, I was pregnant, and I don't have any children now, so that didn't happen. I don't want to go into all of that too much, but it's just to give you a bit of an idea. And I've also been in some abusive relationships, mentally, physically. And that's kind of where the Reiki kind of came in, to be honest. I ended up, through the abuse and things that I've been through, it ended up Reiki finding me at a point in my life when I was depressed, anxiety, everything that you can think of was there, and I wasn't eating, sleeping, all those general things that kind of link in with that. And I had my first Reiki treatment that I didn't even know I was going to be having, and it woke me up. It was like a light bulb moment, and really truly magical. When I had that treatment, it was actually from a friend that I go camping with, so the people that know me as Hazel Cake, and I didn't know that she was a Reiki teacher. I mean, I've known her now for 23 years, and back then, even 8 years ago, Reiki wasn't very much spoken of as much as it is now. Now it's in hospitals all over the world, which is fantastic because it's such an amazing complementary practice for people to add into whatever they're already having. And through that change, waking up the next morning after having a Reiki treatment, not really knowing what it was and having lots of questions, I just thought, where have I been? Where have I actually been? I felt really energized. I felt awake. I didn't have the heaviness. I didn't have any worries. So I just ran out my tent and was like, hello world kind of thing. And it really, I had to just know, what is this? I need to know more. And that really led me on my journey, researching about it. And then I found a teacher, which led me on to all sorts of other things. But I spent a good year really doing a lot of healing work for myself, which is the first person that you need to start with before you can really help others anyway. And it's just been a continual thing. The womb healing that happened a couple of years ago, so my womb awakening was, just to give you a bit of background, so talking about our cycle, I have been very lucky with my cycle. So right up to the age of 35, not really any problems. We have our usual, the average is like a 28-day lunar cycle, and then, usually 3 to 5 days of your bleed, and maybe some menstrual cramp, but nothing major, and sometimes a bit of a headache. But apart from that, really no complaints. When I got to 35, it was like something had changed, and I woke up one morning in the most pain that I have ever been in physically. I did have that feeling of like, am I dying? Am I going, what's happening? And it was quite scary. The only way that I can describe it to you is that I felt like something the size of an acorn, so about this big, was really slowly being ripped down the inside of one of my fallopian tubes, and going very slowly, really slow. And I'd be in bed for 4 hours. I couldn't get out of bed. Because I do a lot of Reiki self-healing, I just laid in a very meditative state and did my Reiki. And I got it to a point where the pain was bearable enough for me that I could actually do stuff. So I'd reduce it down, but I was still in quite a lot of pain. This went on probably for a few months before I even went to the doctors, because I'm very intuitive in the way that I self-heal. It's not that I'm against doctors. I think they're amazing and they do an amazing job. And some of the Western medicine does benefit and is great for people, but I'm a big lover of complementary therapies and how that can work. Just purely through my own experiences, it's completely changed my life in more ways than I can probably tell you in this live. But I did go to the doctors because my mother was like really concerned, because she said, it sounds like you're going through what she had. Now, she had ovarian cysts around the same age that I was then. So I thought, okay, I'll go to the doctors. Unfortunately, didn't have a very good experience. The doctor was a little bit like, when I told him about the pain, he went, yeah, that's period pain. And I was like, right now, I'm not violent, but I could thump you, because no, it's not period pain. I know what that is. And they just said, we have to monitor it. Yes, it could be ovarian cyst, it could be endometriosis. However, you'll need to monitor it, and then we can decide about, taking a step further. And I just knew walking out of there that wasn't going to happen. I can't tell you how. I was just like, no, there's going to be another way. And sure enough, the universe always provides, and I'm a firm believer of that. I know a lot of people go, you're really wacky and it's a bit woo-woo, but it works and it's true, and I live my life by it. It's who I am, it's part of me. And so I did. And a friend of mine sent me an email about a retreat, which she wouldn't usually do. And I read it and I thought, oh, retreat, I'm not sure that I can pay out, because they cost quite a bit, usually quite a bit of money. And I had a look down the list, and I remember seeing, I'm thinking of the way, like yoga, like Nidra yoga. And I was thinking, yeah, that sounds relaxing and nice, retreat might be good. And then I just saw the words womb blessing, and it was like they jumped off the screen. And I just had this inner knowing every fibre of my being was saying, this is what you need, this is going to heal you, this is going to fix you. And I didn't bother reading anything else. I just looked at, because it was Rebecca Wilson, I just looked at her picture and I tuned in and I thought, yeah, she's the right person. This is going to be good. And I just booked it. So I had no idea what I was really going for when I got there. And it's not your average retreat. It's more like a boot camp in terms of what you do. But the womb blessing, which is which is the womb healing, which is the most important part, is really very gentle. It's really very non-invasive. And it's just how you bring that about in the process that Rebecca does. And I kind of follow that because I think it's really important. But having that womb healing in the moment that I received it, so how you receive it is it's a womb keeper is what they're known as. So I'm now known as a womb keeper. And that energy has been passed down from woman to woman for, there's not much literature on it, so we don't know how long, but a very, very long time. And very much from South America, so where I've been in Costa Rica, sort of that kind of energy, that's where we're coming from. It's activated from your womb space and passed on to another woman. So they would put their hands on your womb, but also it can be sent by distance as well. So we don't have to actually physically be together. That process for me, I had it in person. When I received that energy, I felt all of the kind of shame and guilt kind of flow out of me, but it wasn't mine. It was like my mother's 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 mother. And it was things around femininity. It was things around, pregnancy. It was stuff around sex. It was stuff about periods, feeling shameful of that, having to hide your sort of womanly guiles, all these sorts of things that are kind of generational things, but also passed down from womb to womb, from mother to mother. It's like before we've even been born, we've got this genetic blueprint of all of that stuff before. And it just came out of me. And since that day, because I woke up the next day and I felt feminine for the first time. And I hadn't realized. And I was like, wow, I'm like nearly 36 and I'm just now feeling feminine. Which shocked a lot of people because they just always thought you were feminine. I went, no, I've never connected with being feminine ever. So it was really, so on that level, that was something new to explore. But I also felt more space in my body, like I'd been almost kind of stretched, that's more space within my womb space. And I know because I do energy work, I am more sensitive maybe than more other people, I was more in tune with my body at that point. So I was really feeling it on a deeper level. So not everyone's going to maybe have that kind of same experience, but we're all on a different journey. After that, my next period came. Everything was fine. I had no pains. My flow went back to 28 days, whereas before, for months and months and months before, it had been 55 days, 45 days, 42. It was really jumping all over the place. So I had no idea where I was. It was just like a reset. It was like my womb had been awakened and, started again without all of that stuff, without all the ancestral line. So it's completely clean and cleansed. It was clear of all traumas that I'd been holding. So all emotional pain, physical pain, traumas of what I'd been through with my own womb, but also down the ancestral line as well. And even my mother, when I came home, she was like, she even felt different. So it had that like knock-on effect as well. So it is really, really deep healing. And I see it. I mean, it is known as it's not the Manichae 13th rite. So it's almost like a rite of passage. So it's very shamanic in the energy, I would say, because if people aren't really sure about like shamanic practice and what that's about, the one way that I see it is a lot of the therapists you go and use a shamanic practitioner, you're going to be doing things to release emotions or bring those parts back of yourself and let go without having to do the talking, without having to relive the story. And I believe like this is another way of doing it. So if you're, maybe you've had miscarriages, or maybe you're even having fertility issues, or you've had endometriosis, or, ovarian cysts, or whatever's going on there for you, you won't have to like go through the story of like, this is all the stuff that I've been, you don't have to kind of retalk it. It can just be the energy does the work, and then you feel the difference after that. It's amazing. I don't know how many other ways that I can say that it is, but yeah.
I think what you describe is very interesting, because I know in various African cultures that you do have like the older women, like the the great grandmothers or whatever they want to call them, or the elders in the community, or the healers or the herbalists in the communities that literally do what you just described, but it's so embedded within the culture. So it's really beautiful to know that other cultures or do the same thing, and the benefits for the Western world, because it's one of those things that we're so very disconnected with. But I know you've said a lot with regards to your story, but I want us to kind of like touch on the importance of the womb, because many people just understand the womb to be important in terms of the biological purposes, which is pregnancy and and giving birth and the menstrual. But it goes beyond that, and as you described, being in touch with your femininity. And what I found, especially in the Western world, is because there's this culture of go get it. Women are operating in the masculine more than the feminine, and we need to have the balance, because both sexes have both anyway. But it's being able to balance it and being more feminine, as you described, because you can have makeup on, have your hair done, but you don't feel feminine. Feeling feminine is very, very different. So let's kind of like just talk a bit about the importance of the womb, other than the biological reasons, that we know about.
It's a great question and a great topic to touch on, because a lot of people with this, when I say they do womb healing, they're like, what is that? Like, why would you need that? Because like the womb is just the womb, and it's for babies, and like you say, the biological the workings of it, but it is so much more than that. It's really a space within a woman. It's your creative space. So it's not just about giving birth to life. It's about every single thing that we create as women, whatever that is. So if you're in business, if you've got a project, if you're, doing art, if you're making things, whatever it is that you're creating, the energy of that really comes from the womb space. And what I mean by that is, the only way that I can kind of describe that to you is, even after when I had my womb healing afterwards, I felt like there was more space there, and I was like, wow, my womb's actually doing much more work than I ever thought it was. And having that connection of like the feeling feminine, because really I hadn't really connected with my womb space at all. I was just like, like, it's there, it does my periods, I don't really need to think about it any more than that. Whereas now I do a lot of womb meditation practice. And when I do that, it inspires me. I have ideas come in. If I'm going to be like doing a project or anything, I'm now like, I sit with my womb and I'm like asking my womb, because it's really like, for women, it's like our second voice. And even having, the energy from your heart and your womb space, like that energy is entwined. And for us to really, feel that, we need to make sure that that's completely flowing and that we are connected to that space. So definitely it's like the seed of all creation. It's not just there to, birth, bring babies, and everything else. It will do so much more for you once you do actually connect with your womb space. And in terms of like, traumas of the womb, how does that kind of manifest? Why is that trapped in that space? If you think about energy medicine and healing, and I guess the holistic views there are that our emotions get trapped and stored in the body. So if we're somebody that's, we're working in business, we're very stressed, a lot of the time our shoulders will be very tight, or it might be that your lower back is, and it's really down to like where you kind of store that stress, if that makes sense, just to give you an idea. So the traumas of the womb are really those things that have been passed down generationally from your mother's mother. So if your mother had maybe been abused or had, you know, anything like that going down in the family, or had a bad birth or bad periods or anything like that, or had a lot of anger in her life, all those types of things, that's passed down energetically. So that's already sitting in that space when we're born. Like that's like that blueprint's just there before we're even ready to go. And then what's happening on our own journey, those stresses. So you know, women that have had like a miscarriage, all of that emotion and that trauma will stay in that space, even if we, you know, we maybe go for counselling and get those things done so we can move on with our, you know, your life, and you let go of that and you go through the grieving process and everything else. That's all well and good, but the emotional, I suppose it's like the emotional bubble of that is still sitting in your womb space. And it will build and build and build and build and build until you don't have any space there for anything else. So then things can actually become blocked. Maybe even women that are trying to have babies, or you're trying to birth a project, but you just can't get past it and you don't know what's stopping you. It's usually because your womb's like, it needs that cleanse, it needs clearing. And once you do that, you suddenly have more energy, you've got a zest for life. Being more in touch with your body also helps you to be more in alignment with your cycles. It helps you to think differently about our periods, or I call them lunar cycles. And even if you're in the menopause, having it then as well, that's also going to help you with that womb space and really connecting, because we don't spend enough time actually really connecting with our body. And just on my own journey since I've had that, and I've been doing, you know, really connecting, doing womb meditation, and all the journeys that I've done since then have really made me connect with my body so much that I know exactly when my period's going to shift, because sometimes they do jump about. And even though we've got these apps called Clue, I don't know if you know of that. Some people, yeah, there's all these different apps. That's app for everything, to help you kind of monitor your cycles for fertility issues, or just, you know, for regular things. I do use that. It's quite helpful. Saved me writing it down. So, but I can look at it and it will tell me, oh, you're going to be, you know, on your bleed on this day, and I can go, no, I'm not actually. I know it's going to be 3 days late or 3 days early, because I'm just so in tune with that space now. And I find that when I am birthing new projects, like my womb gets a little bit like, you know, you get a little bit bloaty. And that bloaty sensation, a lot of the time we'll be thinking, oh my God, there's something wrong, or I've eaten too much. And for me, I'm like, oh, I'm ready to birth that project. I really need to get moving with it. And it's like a sign to get things going. So it's not just there for, you know, giving birth. It's not just there to, you know, do our periods. There's so much more energy within us. And every part of our body is doing something, you know, biologically, but energetically, if we're in touch with each, you know, part of our body, particularly the womb, to me, I say to someone, it's like my second brain. It's the part that I go to. It's where all our wisdom is stored. So when we're feeling a little bit confused and out of sync, we can take some time, step back, you know, do a meditation, or however it is that you do your womb work, and connect with that area and just spend some time. And usually when I've done that, everything just comes to light, and it's great. I hope that's kind of answered it. It's a very broad subject, so it's yeah.
Yeah, it is a very broad subject, and I hope if anyone has got any questions, they would ask, because sometimes it's easy to forget what you know and what people don't know, because this is a topic that I've really researched extensively, because for me, it just came intuitively. I felt, you know, I started feeling like and thinking about the womb and womb healing. And then I was thinking, oh, I wonder if anyone does this. And I started looking around and, you know, researching it, because I think one of the things that in the West, especially, we're so used to is taking medicines for everything. And sometimes, you know, what you feel is the issue really isn't the issue. And I've also seen people struggle so much with creativity, block creativity or starting projects and not finishing it. And I guess because I'm a very intuitive person, very spiritual person, I can see where the blockages are. But for many people, they don't really see that. And there's a huge correlation with that. And a good example is saying, when someone is fearful, where do they feel the fear? They'd be like, oh, I can feel this in the pit of my stomach. So they identify it as the pit of their stomach, but it really isn't, because they're not so in tune with their body. They would not know where the tension is. They would think it's the stomach, but it really isn't. It really is the womb. When you talk about the trauma, when you talk about the fear, when you talk about all these unexplained things that people might be feeling, it holds it in within the womb area, and people don't realize that. They feel like, oh, maybe it's my stomach, I'm going to the loo or whatever, but energetically and holistically, that's really where the issue is. So I think it's a really important topic to discuss, especially with women being able to authentically express themselves and to share their voice, because initially your voice does not really come from here.
It comes from it does come from the womb. And having to say that, since my womb lessons, and I've had 3, because you can have as many as you want. The more you have them, the more you empower that space. And since having those, my voice has become bigger. And I wouldn't say like I'm a massive singer, but if I'm doing chanting or any meditation, it will go on, and I'm like, where is this coming from? And it's only since I've had the womb healing that that's really awakened. And it definitely is. Your voice does really come from your womb space, for sure.
And
you're on mute.
And because it's also a place of creativity and empowerment, so it would explain why you would fill the space, because as much as you're saying a space, what I hear is capacity to hold more, to do more, to achieve more, and to accomplish more. And because the more you're in tune with yourself, the more you feel accomplished. When you're not in tune with yourself, then you will not feel accomplished. So it's not always about doing the stuff. It's always about doing the things that are fulfilling, and the things to do with your destiny. So I think it's a really huge topic to talk about. So another thing that I want us to kind of like touch on is what is the connection between feminine energy and the womb? Because I think that's important.
Okay. Oh my God, yeah, there is. With the womb space, just for myself, like, not, as I said earlier, like I didn't really realize that I wasn't feeling feminine. And I'll meet a lot of women that are maybe, in business, they're surrounded by a lot of men, so they're really in a masculine environment. And just even asking them the questions. And I urge everybody to ask themselves this question, like, what does femininity mean to you? And maybe just write down words that come up, or woman as well, what woman means to you and what feminine means to you. And just have a look at that and have a look at the correlation of that, because that's a journey that I did on one of the retreats, and I found it incredible, because just even looking at that, I was like, wow, okay. And then thinking about my womb space and thinking, well, yes, I have a womb, but I don't really feel like motherly. I don't have that. I've never felt those kind of maternal instincts, which are deemed, and we kind of get tarred with that brush of, oh, you're a woman, so you're going to get broody around babies, you're going to do that. And when you don't, people are like, well, there must be something wrong with you, and you're kind of like put into a different box in a way. So in terms of having that connection with your womb, and feeling feminine, they are two very different things. But when you do connect with your room space, you do feel your femininity, because we do have to balance it. So we have our feminine part and our masculine part, which you touched on earlier, which there needs to be balance with that. So it's really important, because the masculine is just important as the feminine, and vice versa. And that comes in handy, like with all my techie stuff, I'm like drawing on my masculine side, because that's that kind of part of my brain, you know. And if it's anything else, it's like the feminine side will come in, and there's that lovely flow. With the womb healing, I have met, there's been many women that have said to me, oh, actually, yeah, I don't feel masculine, but I think that that's okay. But then I'll ask the question again, and they're like, actually, no, I know it's not okay, but that's where I'm at. And then it's given them that they need time to kind of work with that. But even so, we should, as women, feel feminine. It's really, really important to have that. It's very empowering. I definitely felt so empowered when I was like, I feel really feminine. It was like this different energy that I'd not experienced before. And it's really, really important. I've even had women who've had the womb healing who had hysterectomy. So I had a particular case where a woman, she'd had hysterectomy 19 years ago. And after that, and it's also in a very masculine environment, and she was just like, I don't feel feminine anymore. I feel like since I had that part of my womb taken, like that's me as a woman. So I just stopped. I stopped, you know, I would wear different clothes, and she was dressing more masculine, and all those kinds of things that go with that. Having the womb healing completely changed that. It was like, whoa, I feel like that's energetically given her womb back and brought that energy back into her body for her to feel feminine again. So it's deeply, deeply important.
Yeah. So Velma Williams says she would like to know more. Velma, can you just emphasize what would you like to know more about? Is it the womb healing? And if it's so, I think we'll put you in touch with Hazel, and she can talk to you more about that, because I think it's really important. And also, one of the things that is very prevalent, especially in the ethnic minority group, is the fibroids and the cysts and all of that stuff. And I know that we talk about going to hospital to have them taken out and all of that stuff, but I also believe in holistic healing. I believe in other forms of healing. So if it's something that, I don't know if you can talk a bit more about. I mean, obviously people have the option to go under the knife if they want to, but is it one of the things that can be addressed through?
It can be, yeah. I had a lady not so long ago with fibroids actually come, and since then has been coming on leaps and bounds. So it is fantastic. And I've sat with the womb journey that I've had. I've sat now. I've lost count of how many women I've sat in circle with, which is really deeply empowering process as it is. But it's all been the womb healing journey and me diving deeper for my own personal journey, but also so that I can share and help others. Because I just want to get this out to as many women as possible, because I just think it's so important. But every single woman in these circles, some were coming with fertility issues, some were coming with, you know, fibroids, with, you know, cysts, endometriosis, fertility issues, with massive guilt around having abortions, guilt around miscarriages, sexual abuse. Just that the list was like on and on and on. And they were all women from all over the world, from different backgrounds. And I literally watched these women transform in front of my eyes, like overnight. And, you know, when they left, they were just like a different woman. It was like being born again. It is very much like having a rebirth, because it's, you know, you're cleansing that space and having it recentered. It's like starting again. So your womb's like a virgin, if it's, for want of a better way of putting it.
So one of the other things that I also want to kind of like touch on is there's a huge is it shame? I'm not sure if shame is the right word, but there's a huge whatever that word is, but I see it as shame sometimes when it comes to the menstrual cycle.
Yes.
I know, especially the way women are introduced to it. When you're young, you're being given a pad, and you're being brought to the side and told what it is. You have to be really discreet, and it's kind of like you're introduced to it in a secretive, embarrassing kind of way. And then for those who got their cycle earlier, they felt different, and all of that stuff. I think when we're talking about womb healing and all of that, I think it's also a way to break down the shame with regards to the menstrual cycle, because I think there's a lot of shame that is attached to that, which is just not right, because our wombs are sacred spaces. So if
Yeah.
you're ashamed of that, it also brings in huge issues. I don't know if you've seen any of that with the work that you do.
Yeah, definitely. Every time, pretty much every time, even myself, there was like shame around it. Shame and guilt, massive two things that are kind of trapped, like really sit in our womb space. And again, even for me, that's like passed down, through my mother's mother. My mum, I mean, it was very secretive. Her sister had to show her what to do. It wasn't even because it was just like, oh, okay, well, you go and do that. Don't tell anyone about it. And that's kind of passed down, sort of generational. And even me as a child, like when it got to like physical education, it would be like, oh, okay, well, I have to give a letter, and then everyone's looking at you, and you're like, oh, they're all going to know that I'm on my period. So that kind of stuff, it does, and it does create that. And I've noticed with all of the women that have come and had this, and all the women that I've sat in circle with and journeyed with, that again, they've all cleared a lot of shame around that. And particularly, even for women that are what I call it when you're in your years of plenitude, and you're in your menopause, that can be a thing. Even in business, it's like, well, I need to kind of hide that I'm having flushes and I'm tired, and you're still having to go to work, rather than being like, okay, this is happening to me at the moment, and be really open about it and be positive about it and see it as a positive thing, because it's really at that point we're really going into a different stage of womanhood, and it really should be celebrated. And the same way, like your lunar cycle should be celebrated with the womb healing. It's taught me to actually, like, every time I'm having my bleed, rather than be seeing it as, oh my God, I'm on my period, so that's just, going to be a hellish time, and I'm going to be stressed out or whatever. And you have all of those thoughts, to actually, I've completely turned that around. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to have my bleed. That's nice. I'm going to buy myself some flowers, and I'm going to sit down and do a nice heart womb connection prayer, and really honor my bleed, because we don't bleed forever, and really to honor the energy of that and the power of it. And use it to do some lovely manifestation, like really journey with that and give thanks for it. And also just really nourish your body. Do those things that we know support us. So whether it's hot baths with lovely essential oils and all those things, and just really nurturing ourselves. And when we do that, we nurture that space. And that's what it's all about. And when you really change that, you actually start to feel more positive about it, rather than, all the shame that's like, you have to kind of hide it, or you like, some people have said to me like, oh, I feel dirty. It's like, down my family, I've been told that it's dirty and that I have to hide that. And I'm just like, wow, this really has to change. And so it's great to see all these women having these healings and just going away like a new woman, because you will. That's the only way. Yeah, it's another way of describing it. You feel like you're brand new, and things have changed, and it gives you a different mindset, which we do need to share, and we do need to support, as women support each other with that process.
So I'm going to ask you the last question. I'm going to ask you, if no one has any question, because I'm looking through and no one has any question, which is good, means you're very clear. So the last question I'm going to ask you is, what does feminine mean to you? How does it look like
for me? Oh, good question. For me, femininity is really that really lovely flowing side of myself, that I can be powerful, that I can be strong, and still have that gentleness there. That's to me how it feels, because it's not always about, you know, being all dressed up and makeup and everything. It's actually that feeling that I can be completely me, completely natural, and feel completely in my feminine power. And I'm able to emanate that, which uplifts others. So it's, yeah, that I would say in a nutshell. Yeah.
I think that's very interesting, because when people think about a strong woman, they think about a woman who's like really tough and can do anything. And I think we've associated strength and power in a masculine
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
not realizing that a graceful, soft woman can still exude strength and power.
Yeah.
So
Really.
it's just the two, being able to kind of like just really balance the two, and kind of like re-educate ourselves, reacquaint ourselves with
Yeah.
what femininity is and how strength looks for us, and how it displays itself or how it expresses itself. I don't know if you'd like to share how strength expresses itself through you, or
Let me
yeah,
think.
I
So
know it's a really
yeah, I think for
question, but
me, yeah, strength kind of exudes me. I'm really strong. I have realized that. I've been times where I haven't felt strong, but I've definitely felt, since having the womb healing, I've definitely felt, since like reconnecting with that feminine side of me, actually empowered me and gave me more strength than I already had. And that strength has got me through some incredibly challenging times. Truly, like through my, even through my childhood, but coming out of that, you know, being able to stand up and be in your truth. Now, a lot of people are like, whoa, okay, but in terms of speaking your truth, but even to be able to say, like, today, this is me, I'm Hazel, you know, I'm an energy medicine worker, this is what I do, I'm a womb keeper, you know, I'm fabulous, I'm amazing, I'm powerful, I'm strong, I exude love, and I share that with the world. Really speaking your truth and saying that, for some people, they find it like, well, if I say that I'm powerful, that's my ego. I'm going to be seen like, if I say I love myself truly, wholeheartedly, every fibre of my being, again, there's that kind of a connotation of like, oh, it could be the ego side coming out. And I don't want people to kind of deem me as that. And even the word powerful, I used to not use that word, because I thought that people are going to think that I'm, you know, it's like my ego, like I'm saying, oh, I'm really powerful. And that's the kind of what I had. And I hadn't realized, again, until having this womb healing, that I was switching out this word. So even when I would have a client and I do an amazing Reiki session, and I know, like, whoa, that was really a powerful session for that person, I'd say that was really deep work. So, you know, you're going to need to be gentle with yourself. Rather than using the word powerful, I would avoid it. And actually, after the womb journey that I've been on and really connecting with that space and feeling feminine and being empowered and feeling really powerful, I've stopped doing that, because I'm just like, actually, no, it is powerful. It is, energy medicine is powerful work, and it can be life-changing. A lot of the times it has been for me. And so we should be able to shout about that and not have those kind of worries where it's worry and fear and stuff that's been passed down. And so when I've cleared that space and it has created more energy there, and I'm actually drawing more energy down, it's just empowered everything. And it's had a knock-on effect, not on just for me, my emotional, physical health, but also for my clients, because I draw more energy in, I'm able to give more out, which that's just amazing. But yeah, powerful, be strong, and don't feel that you have to apologize for it or feel that it's, you know, too much ego. It's important.
I think one of the things as well, as I hear you speak, is I feel like not being able to explore that womb space, and you know, getting that healing, and you know, getting that capacity in, makes someone hold themselves back, because not being able to say that that was powerful work is holding yourself back, because
Yeah.
it is bloody amazing.
Yes.
good work. You are fantastic at what you do, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with saying that, because you're not saying that to make yourself feel better or to demean someone else. You're saying that to acknowledge the wholeness of who you are and the totality of what you bring. So I think it's one of the things that I find is, I think when you don't address that, address the trauma and everything else, as we were saying, like, your voice gets distorted. And when your voice gets distorted, your expression is flawed, in the sense that you will not be able to celebrate yourself. You'll not be able to acknowledge the good things in yourself. You'll be dimming your light as well, because I think that's literally what you do, isn't it? So Hazel, it has been amazing having this conversation with you. I am going to put your information on everything on the video, so that people can find you and engage with you. I just want to thank you so much for making time to share your story, because there's so much shame around the lunar cycles. Like, people would be scared to say, well, mine is not regular, because, people just disregard it. Even though it's at the back of their mind, they would disregard it. Like, the way our bodies work, it is important. Your cycle is important. Your womb is so important, and we're holding so much trauma there, and we've abused our womb so much that just I cringe. When you're talking about different things like the trauma and everything, I'm like, oh my god, I'm just cringing, because for me, I think period was disgust. I associated my cycle with disgust, and it's so weird. It's like you're disgusted with who you are. So obviously, there's so much stuff to kind of like work through in everyone, because we've all done this in all our lives. We've done this, and if you haven't done it, your grandma probably done it.
Oh yeah, that's it. This is the thing with the womb healing, is that it clears all traumas of the womb, but it also clears it down the ancestral line. So you're really like starting afresh. So it's great for anybody. Any women, I should say, would just have this as part of their womb health. To have it either regularly or just even as a one-off. Some people have it as a one-off, some people have it regular. But it's definitely really, really important part of your womb health. Or if you're, having fertility issues, then that's always, or you're planning to have a baby, like start with a fresh, energized womb with none of that stuff in, that would be a good start for you and a good start for your baby. So, or anything that you're creating that you want to, it's a good thing to do this. I can't kind of say more than that, I guess.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time, your expertise. I really appreciate you. I appreciate everyone who's tuned in. Please share this video. Those who will be watching later, thank you so much for tuning in. Leave your comments. Let us know what you think. If you need Hazel services, we'll put the information there, and I'll tag her on my Facebook as well, so you'll be able to find her, because I think it's important, even if it's just to have a chat, to know more. I think you owe yourself that. And to all my American friends, happy Thanksgiving, right?
Oh yeah, happy Thanksgiving. And thank you so much, Rhoda, for having me. It's been really, really lovely, and it's great to share with you and everybody. And please, I'm happy just to chat to people about it if they want to know more. So for sure, do contact me.
Fabulous, thank you. Take care, guys, and have a fabulous day and the rest of the week. Bye.